Describe Sonar's mission as a band.
Sonar's mission as a band is to create a type of music which otherwise wouldn't exist in this world. And it's a unique mixture. It's not rock music, it's not minimal music, it's not jazz music, but it has elements of all three of them. And it's also not just about the music, it's about the way we play together. We're playing together like an orchestra without soloists. And we don't really want to entertain in the contemporary sense, but we want our audience to actively participate. So it's a kind of music which kind of wants that.
Tell me about the unique characteristics each band member brings to the band.
I think all four members of Sonar are equally important. I couldn't imagine this group without these exact four people. And it's really unique how we came together. There were no auditions, anything. We just met and it worked perfectly. And I think it's a very well balanced group. We have two guitars. Bernard and I are both mathematically interested. We're interested in structures and numbers and patterns, so we can really talk about that on a very good level. And so for me, he's very important that I can get a mirror for my ideas, and we can talk about those things. And I think Christian and Manuel are very different in the way they think and also in the way they play. Christian is very important because the guitars they play a lot of harmonics, which are very high pitched. And Christian is important that he has this really deep bass sound, which brings the whole thing down to earth. That's a very important component of the music. And Manuel, of course, is important because he carries all the polyrhythms. He's the one who takes the different rhythms which are going on and combines them in his grooves. So in that sense, really everybody has their specific role.
What evolution does the new album represent for Sonar?
Vortex is really something else. The first three albums we did, I think we more or less accomplished what we originally wanted to do. And this album was, from the beginning, we thought it should be different. It should point us in a new direction. And one of the ideas that we had were to work with other people. So we worked, for instance, with a saxophone player from Bern, Don Lee, on a piece, which also is on Vortex as one of the pieces. And for this album, we decided to work with David. And first of all, we weren't sure how much David would play, but now in the end, it seems that he will play on everything. So it's been a very radical thing for us to change the way we play and interact with him.
What can you tell me about the creative process that resulted in these pieces?
Well, usually I compose the pieces at home. I think of things that I want to try out, and I do a first version on my computer, and then I take it to the band, and then it usually changes certain things. Maybe nothing will change. It depends, but usually some minor things will be changed, and so then we have a version which is playable for the band. But in this case, also the next step was playing it with David, because David also had a contribution which really changed the way we played the songs. We changed the arrangements. I maybe would play less than I would usually play, and in that sense, they really changed.
Who are some of the key influences on Sonar's music?
I think the biggest influence is the minimal composer Steve Reich. Because it's not so much the music that he composed, it's the ideas that he had. And I think his music is very much about having an idea. If you want to compose a piece, you need a good idea to start with, and usually just one idea. I think a lot of people use far too many ideas in a piece. It's enough to have one good idea, because you can do so much with one good idea. For instance, in Steve Reich, if you take his phasing idea, I mean, just the idea that with phase shifting you can create thousands of new pieces which will all be interesting, and just basically one small idea that he has or had. Or another thing that I learned from Steve Reich is that if you're interested in something, for instance, I love the sound of a distorted guitar. But instead of just going to the store and buying a distortion box, you could think, what's the idea behind a distorted guitar? What do you want to achieve? And can you do that without distortion? Can you take the idea of a distortion and just use an instrument, your own instrument, to create that? Not going in a shop and buying new stuff to create something that already exists, but find the idea behind the thing and then try to do that with your instrument. That's something I also learned from him. And of course, the whole idea that less is more. If you have one idea and stick to that idea and try to make a piece just using that one idea and not deferring in any way, but getting the most out of that idea, that makes the most coherent composition, I think.
Why did you choose David Thorn to produce the album?
Well, first of all, I've known David for many, many years. I've known not him personally, but his music, and I really love the things that he did in the 80s and 90s, and I was very influenced by his music, so it seemed a logical choice in that sense. And then also, I was at my friend Henry Kaiser's house, and I asked Henry who he would recommend as a producer. And his first answer was David. And he knew David, so he connected us. And David and I talked, and we found that this would really work. So we started this project.
How have you noticed David Thorn influencing the band's sound?
We started out this record with not really knowing how much David would play. So we thought we'd just try it out. And we found that actually his sound really gave us a new dimension. Like it felt like we were being the skeleton, and he was the meat around the skeleton. So we found that we didn't really want to miss his sound in the other tracks, so it kept getting more and more until we finally decided that he should play on every tune. And we adjusted the tunes accordingly so that would work. And I think his sound really influences us to play in a different way. Maybe I've noticed that in the rhythm section, they play differently if David plays with us. So a lot of things have changed.
Describe the chemistry you've experienced having David here in the studio with you.
The energy in the studio was really good. It felt good to have him here. It gave us a positive vibe. So I think it was a very positive influence, something that really made us go to the next level.
What's it been like to work with David in terms of his personality and his humorous side?
It's absolutely fantastic. He's such a nice person, and he's a funny person, and it's a good vibe, and it's completely, I feel completely comfortable with him. And also music-wise, we're on the same levels or same wavelength, I might say, and it's really been a very positive experience.